Iron Man, the Hulk, Hawkeye. You called them superheroes. I call them my childhood.
Welcome back to episode 9. This is going to be a fun one. This is the Marvel retrospective. I'm your host, Redamus Maximus.
This is Jay Lovecraft.
I'm your Star Queen.
And I'm the Mad Doctor.
And we are here to bring you some fun superheroes, supervillains, pretty much anything in between that Marvel has touched in the last, what would you say, 40 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
Let's see here. The publishing was about good 75 years, so about 50 years, I would have to
50
say.
years, yeah, so it's pretty close. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about this week. And like I said, it's not going to be just superheroes. We obviously will have them on there because everyone's got their favorites. Marvel has touched so much over the past few years. We've seen things everywhere, not just superheroes. We've seen Godzilla. We've seen The Tomb of Dracula.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, I figured you liked that one. And many, many, many more stories that are actually not within the MCU, but Marvel has actually touched. And we're going to be talking about those kind of things. So, who would like to start us off this week?
I can start us off real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so all of you know that my favorite superhero is Doctor Strange. I absolutely love the supernatural aspect of Marvel, but you know me, I've got to bring up Transformers somehow. So,
Yep.
Did you guys know that the first comic run of Transformers was done by Marvel?
Yes.
I
believe it.
do remember that.
Yes.
I believe it was 84, I want to say.
Actually, 83 when they first signed the
83,
contract.
84.
Yep.
And did you also know that there was actually 2 different runs that were technically the same continuity?
I did not know that.
Again, I apologize to our fan base. My knowledge of Transformers and comics is little.
Okay, so what ended up happening was, due to publishing reasons, the UK actually ended up getting a different story from the American version. Yeah, I know you guys are giving me some looks right now, but because of that, that's actually something a lot of comic collectors kind of look out for, and it's kind of how the UK versions sometimes are worth a little bit more than the American versions, because it's a different story. So if you think, I want to get Transformers number 8, first appearance of the Dinobots. Well, if you get that from the UK, you might be getting a different storyline. Just because of writers, scheduling, publishing. There was a kind of a split in Marvel that happened at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just find that really interesting, because that's something that we don't really see in comics today. And I don't even think DC has done anything like that either, now that I think about it. I mean, can you
Not
guys
that I've noticed.
remember any Marvel run or even a DC run where the International had 2 separate storylines?
Not to my knowledge, no.
No, not that I can remember.
Yeah, so I just thought it was really, really weird. But also, we had some really good storylines come out of that comic. And obviously it's Transformers, it's G1, it's the 80s, there's some super cheesy stuff in there, but it's the best cheese. It's that 90s, feel good, for example, Starscream becomes a flight attendant,
Okay, well.
Okay, so
Which makes that amazing because the man transforms into a jet.
One of the storylines for Marvel was the Decepticons took over this island, right? And to try and make it look friendly to the humans, they posed it as a resort. Well, how do you get people to the island, right?
Fly them.
Exactly. What did the Decepticons have on their team?
A giant
Seekers.
spaceship.
Seekers, right. So the Seekers were part of the ad for the Decepticons for people to come to the island, and there is a great panel somewhere of Starscream saying, "Hello, I'm Starscream, fly me," just outside someone's house.
That is the beginning of a bad hentai.
That is,
yeah.
that's the beginning of something.
There was also a storyline where they were going after this supercomputer, and so this computer basically held all the knowledge of every single Transformer that had ever been, right? So that's a lot of knowledge and data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Starscream decides to go after it, but for some reason, and no one can figure out why, Optimus isn't too fussed about what's going on, and he keeps saying to the Autobots, look, no one can have this knowledge, it's too much. Well, Starscream gets the knowledge, and what happens to a computer when you overload it with data? Or a server when you overload it with just data?
Goes haywire.
Exactly.
And it crashes.
Exactly. And that's what happened. Starscream exploded because there was too much data, so he couldn't handle it, and Optimus was just kind of sitting there I knew this would happen. This is what happens when you overload us with data.
Wow. Of course, yeah. I'm sure in that continuity that at the end, Megatron probably was oh, finally.
I don't know, he rebuilt him like 3 times just because he was bored, basically. So,
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm not surprised.
Well,
Yeah.
remember, as we said before, we were talking in one of our other episodes, and Megatron straight out tells Starscream, "Hey, you're the politician."
Yeah.
So why
That's
would
right,
he
yeah.
not rebuild him to make sure that that came to fruition?
Optimus also dies 2 times in that continuity, so if you want to total the amount of times he's died in G1, that brings it up to 5.
He died for your sins.
He died for a lot of things.
Yes, including probably the dumbest one was he and Megatron were locked in a video game on a floppy disk, because apparently that's how much Cybertronian brains are worth on a data stick.
Floppy disks.
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s, yeah.
It was the
Yeah,
80s. That's all
that
they had.
I remember the floppies now, yes.
So
That makes sense.
So he and Megatron was stuck in this video game, and they had to kill each other, right? PvP style, kind of like in a video game.
Right.
Well, Optimus realized that he was killing NPCs and somehow wasn't cool with that, so he let Megatron win, and he died.
The end. Wow.
The man is such a diehard good guy. Things that don't feel and aren't real, he's like, no, I'm not killing these things. They can kill me.
Yeah, and it took a lot of shenaniganery, with headmaster technology, and that's a whole other thing I'm not getting into. But yeah, there was also a very horrible but awesome comic cover of where Megatron and Ratchet went into a portal together, right? But the portal malfunctioned, so that gave birth to something called Ratchettron, where it's literally Ratchet and Megatron fused together down the middle.
Okay, I believe it.
It's horrifying, and the cover is that of them screaming, holding up a note saying "Help us."
Oh, okay. Do you guys remember that movie, The Fly?
Yes.
Which one?
Yeah.
The one with Jeff Goldblum,
Yes.
where he's literally crawling out of the thing, just going, "Kill me!"
That was literally it, and the Autobots and Decepticons stopped fighting to just look, and were just, oh god.
Abomination.
Yes.
Now you might me want to watch that movie.
Well, hey, we do have a spooky, scary season 2 coming up.
Yes, we do.
We've got one more episode for season 1, and then that'll take us into October. So I hope you guys are going to be really excited for that one. We're going to be diving into all kinds of spooky stuff. We've got a field trip scheduled for that one. We've got stories, paranormal activity, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's obviously all related to the nerd culture and all that too.
Oh, yes.
But so look forward to that one. But that's an interesting Marvel story.
It is a very interesting
Thank you
Marvel
for
story.
sharing.
You get a gold star.
You get a banana sticker for that one.
I don't like bananas.
Lovecraft, why don't you go ahead and give
where-
us some awesome Marvel knowledge
Where shall I begin?
wherever you want. That's the beauty
At
of
the
this
beginning.
podcast.
Let's see here. When I was a kid and we didn't have much money, there would be 2 different comic books I would always go for. It was either Justice League of America by DC, obviously, and of course there was the Avengers. Love the Avengers.
Now, was this the original Avengers run?
It was, in fact, simply because outright number 1, it was the Hulk and Thor, but there was no Captain America.
No, there wasn't. You're right.
Ant and Wasp.
Yep, the Pims. They were there,
They've-
right
they've-
alongside.
They've always kind of been a part of the Avengers, though.
No, the original.
The
Hank
original.
Pym and his wife.
Well, yeah, him
Yeah.
and Janet. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the interesting fact was, during that time, even right down to this day, when Captain America joined Avengers in issue 4, all you listeners, please correct me if I'm wrong. And ever since then, I was just hooked because of this ever-increasing and ever-rotating roster of superheroes in which I just fell in love. And there will be a couple years in which I would say, I'm not too fond of this roster because of my favorite superhero is not on there, or always ask, what if Iron Man or Doctor Strange became an Avenger? Well, eventually in the 90s, that did come to fruition, thank God. But the funny part was, here we go with the Avengers movie. Oh boy, talk about going back into my childhood days. But the funny part was, it was all my favorite heroes in one motion picture, and I was just giddy. And they were just like in issue 1 of Avengers, circa 1965. They were fighting Loki for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, there got to be more. There has to be more of these motion pictures in order to fulfill my childhood. And come to find out, there was. But eventually in time, I got into another comic book called X-Men.
Oh, I love X-Men.
Who doesn't? Who does not? I still have giant size X-Men number 1.
Holy shit, are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my god, you have to send me a picture of this.
Yeah, Redemus has been looking for a while now.
Well, wait a minute. If we're playing Star Wars, we might as well just come over to your place and then I'll just look at it.
I mean,
Done.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, done. I'm just doing that tomorrow.
This is a thing.
It was completely and utterly different. It was, believe it or not, a facsimile from 1983 that got me hooked into X-Men when they were doing the great changeover from Iceman and Beast and Angel and, of course, Marvel Girl, you know her as Jean Grey, onto the newer cast such as Sunfire, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus.
Well, in the birth of Gambit.
That came later in the
Or that's
90s.
What was
Yeah,
that, like 268 was the volume?
It was
issue?
267.
267.
1994, I believe.
Correct.
Was when it came out. Because 95 is when I got into it more. It was more of a Magneto fan.
Mm-hmm. And eventually later on, I got into in the mid-90s, all the great artists such as Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Wallace Pistachio.
Jack Kirby.
That was not until later.
Oh, okay. Well, you can't forget that king, though.
Well, he is forever the king of comics, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
But those artists came the nuclei for Image.
Oh, you like Image Comics?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So now we're in the realm of like Spawn and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Todd McFarlane did some wonderful work with Spider-Man, and he did his Spider-Man run. They just said, here's a contract, make a Spider-Man however you want it. And he pretty much did until he got bored, and he helped form Image with the rest of his crew. I fell in love with all that back in the 90s, and now some of them are priceless.
Oh, yeah. Well, what was it? The late 80s and 90s, that was the silver age of comic book collecting and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the funny part is when you refer to Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, it all depends on what is being read.
That's very true now that I think about it, because there's even comic historians don't really agree upon like a set time of like, okay, this is when this comic ended, this is when the Golden Age stopped.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's use DC for an example. There is no underlying superhero such as, okay, this superhero ends the Golden Age and this superhero begins the Silver Age.
Yeah, correct.
But here's the problem. When it becomes Earth 2 Flash is the oldest, and then Earth 1 is the Flash, and all of a sudden in the background you have this new creation called Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of erupted the Silver Age. And believe it or not, that same age brought about the modern time of Marvel Comics. Now, in this time, in this day and age, in 2021, we call it the Dark Age.
Okay, elaborate.
Simply because of one simple fact and one simple fact only. Ever since the early 2000s, the comics code stamp in which they all mutually agreed upon no pornography, no swearing, no this, no that, nothing negative.
Nothing R-X rated.
Right.
We've gotten away from that for sure.
Yeah, and it has now gotten darker in its morbidity, its writing style, and of course, it's become even more adult-oriented rather than something that's child-oriented.
So in other words, it's got away from the family wholesomeness for children to the dark and gritty for adults.
I mean, there's
Pretty
still
much.
like family comics and stuff you can get, like...
But it's not selling.
Well, I don't know, actually. It really just depends on what you read. Like, I know there's a huge, like... Right now, there is a huge, like, indie horror comic boom, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Huge.
horror has jumped heavily, and I don't know if you've actually read it or not yet, Lovecraft, but so obviously when Disney took over Fox, they got the rights for Marvel to produce Aliens.
Yes.
So now we have the Aliens series, and I'm
Yes.
assuming eventually we will get a hold of the Predator as well, since that was Fox as well.
That one's going to be a Russell, because everybody that's touched the Predator, and just like Lovecraft is our alien guy, I'm a Utja expert, which is the proper name for the Predators.
I
Throwing
love
that
the
out
Utja.
there. Same here.
What are they called?
Utja.
Utja.
Okay.
I thought
That
it was
is-
Yauta.
No, Utja.
Utja.
There is a comic book released about, I can't remember, I'll have to go back and look it up and show you guys, but there's a female Predator.
Oh, shoot, I
Oh,
know what
yeah,
you're talking
okay,
about.
yes.
I do know
Yes.
It actually gives you the proper pronunciation in the comic book.
You know who also said Nucha?
Who?
Bib Fortuna.
Oh.
We just
I
watched Return of the
knew-
Jedi
Boom,
the
boom.
other night.
I
we just watched Revenge again.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yep.
But no,
That's cool,
Predator is one that once the creators of Predator and all the comic books creators, they want Disney and Marvel to get a hold of Predator, but they're also worried. Look at the last movie that came out called Predator. It was a box office.
Predators.
No. The newest one was called Predator.
And it wasn't
Really?
good
And
at
it was
all.
not good.
It was great as far as the human cast went, and of course the character actors who played the predators that were in bodysuits, fantastic. The enemy was a CGI predator,
Oh.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not good.
and nothing in it was believable.
And the plot wasn't that great either, from what I remember.
It wasn't. Again, I liked it because a lot of my favorite actors were in it. One of the Buseys were in it.
I was getting ready to ask you, yeah, wasn't Gary
Busey's son was in it. He
Oh,
actually
wow.
played, but they actually mentioned the Hunter Predator from '97,
Right.
which is the Danny Glover one, and they also mentioned the Jungle Hunter from the
original Predator.
'89. I think
It was 88.
'88 Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Get to the chopper now.
Get to the chopper now. I'm the governor of California. Listen to me.
Now that I think about it, I don't know why they haven't done a female predator movie. Okay, not female predator,
Well-
female human predator. I should
So,
correct myself.
Let me start you off with Disney is now doing that with Alien.
Yes,
I mean,
the
yeah.
Alien Queen is now a Disney princess.
Yeah, she's basically a Disney princess at this point. No, so what makes it interesting for Alien right now? I'm pretty sure this is just a test, like putting their toes
Testing
in the
the
water.
temperature.
Yeah, because as of I think it was issue 4, the xenomorph, not the queen, but another one, she has titties.
What?
I'm not even kidding. Like one of the alien overlords has titties.
Can
And
somebody show me a picture of this?
it's-
Yeah.
Please?
So
Yeah.
I will
actually,
be happy to.
So actually, this isn't actually a surprise. In the AVP movie that they did back in the early 2000s, the very first AVP.
Choose your words wisely, because out of comedy reasons, I love those movies.
Oh, you're talking to an AVP fan.
Okay,
here.
perfect.
That's
thought
how much
the
I love
whole-
Predators.
I thought the whole
As
thing.
I am with Alien.
I thought the whole thing of Alien, with the H.R. Geiger thing, I thought that was supposed to be dicks everywhere, not titties.
No.
So that's the thing.
No.
That was a very common misconception for the alien world.
Yeah.
It was the thing like in Lion King. Everybody knows that whole Lion King thing.
I never bought that, to be honest.
Well, if you actually go back and watch it, it actually says FX.
oh, that's
for
what I
visual
thought.
effects.
It looks like SFX, which is special
It is
effects.
special effects.
Now, what was the thing in like Rescuers Down Under? Like,
the one where
that was
they're diving down on a
that
penguin
was an
and you can
actual
see a
like
woman in the
editing
back.
mistake. Like they actually admitted that.
Yeah,
But
they're like, this was just a funny scene we were gonna, and it ended up in the
Yeah.
thing.
He did not create an Alien movie. No, this was his art.
it was his artwork.
And
Yeah,
that
it was
was
the
it.
artwork that was spawned off of that.
Yes.
That and because I remember there's a new. It might be out. I'm not actually sure. There's like an indie game that was inspired by H.R. Geiger's work, and it's called Scorn. The actual,
Yes.
the game itself looks disgusting, but like in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he also did some amazing
Okay,
covers
let me
like
show. Oh my gosh, she has titties.
Yeah, she's
She
alien
has
titties.
titties. Why? They're not mammals.
Whoa.
Why?
So
Well,
again,
they take the form of whatever they burst out of, right? So
no,
No.
No, they don't.
No, they do
they
not.
stay xenomorphs.
But
the-
they take certain DNA characteristics from the host body.
Or that's what I meant.
That's
where we
That's
get
how we
in-
have like dog looking ones and
Yes.
that kind of
That's
stuff.
also where we get the Pralien in AVP Requisition. It bursted
you-
out of a predator and took
That's
DNA
right.
from
Do
the
you-
predator.
Do you
which was
guys
awesome.
think they're just doing this to appeal to certain fans? Because you know there are people out there that do that.
So here's the thing, though. AVP 2000 come out. The Alien Queen made an appearance, or one of the Alien Queens, female character that we've ever had that finally, like, literally made it through a movie to be a badass bitch and help kill an alien queen.
Mhm.
We also have the younger predator, the unblooded, as they're called.
Yeah.
These are predators that have never seen combat, have never been on a hunt. We'll get more into that in another episode.
Yeah.
I could go about that for days, just like you can aliens, Lovecraft.
Yes, I know.
Anyways,
Probably add that to the spooky.
actually, that would be we
Yeah.
could do like a sci-fi spook horror.
Yep.
sci-fi
we can
horror
dedicate
thing.
That to an episode.
Anyways, if you watch very closely, now they're not like that one, like where they're like, but if you look very closely, you can see a distinct breast shape in her xenoplating
Mhm.
on her chest.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like RC or like Elita 1 has like outward like chest plating, but there's that, and then there's actual like those are tits.
Well, we also might need to look. I'm not. Is that something that the studio released or is that fan made?
No, that's actually from the comic series
Oh my god.
that Marvel has produced.
So someone,
Wow.
so that had to go through editorial, and someone had to sign off on that and said yes.
Yeah.
You know, I used to
Wow.
think the funniest part of all that was, think about this. Somebody at Disney spends their day drawing and animating tits. Now someone has spent their day drawing and animated alien tits.
Well, I mean, again, that's kind of the beauty of Marvel, though, is just because it's under Disney now, though. I mean, look at the gore factor of like Deadpool,
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah,
that, and all the
true.
cussing and everything else. We're starting to see more, as you said, Lovecraft, more on the darker side of things, more cussing.
Oh,
not,
yes.
not exactly children friendly.
No.
It's more for a wider, older audience.
Yeah, because
mean-
because all this was the stuff that from 1960 something to maybe about the 90s. This is the stuff we all grew up on. I mean, there's
Wholesome. It was wholesome.
I would say so.
yeah, but eventually later on, we feel as if the audience did not want to have their intelligence insulted. Marvel picked up on that, and eventually later on, it became more darker comics. This is why we see the Midnight Suns, and then we see the era of introducing more supernatural stuff, and eventually we get to see more street violence from, say, Iron Man and Power Fist, Daredevil.
Oh shoot! You know, I just remembered. Have you guys ever read the Jessica Jones series Alias?
No.
Oh my goodness, talk about a super dark comic. So it actually starts out, she's a teenage superhero called Jewel, right?
Is this Marvel?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's Jessica Jones.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't put two
Luke
together. You
Cage's
said
woman.
Alias.
Yeah, so she starts out as a female superhero called Jewel, right? And she wants to be just like the Avengers. So she's, you know, going around New York, saving people, helping people out, because she's got super strength and she can fly. Great, right? Well, one day she meets, I want to call him the Purple Man, but I don't think that's right.
I remember him.
Yes.
Yes.
And his whole thing is he gives off like pheromones where he basically can tell you to do something and you just have to do it.
Oh, yeah. They actually did that in the show.
That was in the show, but in the comic it was way more brutal.
Well, in the show, I remember he told somebody to straight up just kill themselves.
Yeah, well in the comic she was a teenager, so there was a strong chance she was I don't think she was underage, but like he basically told her to like, okay, take off your clothes in the middle of like a restaurant. And then because
Yep.
he liked her, he kept her on and she couldn't do anything for like 2 years. And then one day, I think like Daredevil like pissed him off or something. So he said like, oh, go beat up Daredevil or whatever. So she's like, okay. So she flies to Avengers Tower where she looks at the back of Scarlet Witch and thinks, okay, red. And because of the fact that she was like further away, it was like kind of wearing off, but she wasn't, you know, she was a bit hazy. So she goes after Scarlet Witch. Well, what does that look like to the Avengers?
An open attack.
It just looks like some person flew in the window and just started punching the Scarlet Witch. So obviously they all like go to town on her, and I think it was Carol Danvers who actually stopped the fighting when she realized because she was screaming for them to stop, and she was beaten into a coma. And then when she came out of it, Carol Danvers was still there, and she explained, you know, this is what happened. And Jessica Jones, she was like, I'm done with the superhero life. I'm done. And that was where she became a detective. And
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I do
Pick up
actually
on the
I
actual
remember that.
Jessica
Yes.
Jones.
Yeah.
yeah, the show actually followed it very closely. I was kind of surprised with how closely they followed it. Same with the Defenders as well. I didn't expect them to go with the whole like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones storyline, but props to them, they actually did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, I know you got some interesting Marvel inputs.
Maybe not so interesting. You know, unlike my compatriots here, you guys are more into comic books and stuff like that. I grew up in a house where comic books wasn't the thing, but movie and TV was. Everyone here who's a Marvels fan knows Planet Hulk.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk literally gets sent off Earth because the Avengers decide, you're a scary motherfucker. You're stronger than all of us put together. Yeah, no, we're going to put you in a ship and fly you out to the galaxy. So they shoot him off into the shithole of the universe, also known as, you know, wherever the hell he lands. Lands on a little ship planet ran by aliens. Long story short, he says, yeah, I want to rule the planet. Kills everyone, kills the king, releases the gladiators that are there. And actually, that's where in Thor Ragnarok,
yeah.
that's the idea behind Thor Ragnarok, was Planet Hulk and the comic book Thor Ragnarok smashed together.
Well, that was the
Yeah.
collector collecting Hulk as a
Exactly.
gladiator. Yeah.
Exactly. And so in doing so, Thor meets up with everyone's favorite rock guy, Korg, Taika Waititi. Love that guy.
Legend.
It's like a circle, but a magic circle. And then we get into the second part of that, World War Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk comes back with the army of this alien and all his gladiators, and just from one end of the earth to the other, just fucking destroys it. Kills half the Avengers and just rules Earth. And you're just like, this is a thing.
Now, when do we get the Red Hulk?
Actually,
Well, no, that was the
No.
corporal out of the military, right?
No.
What was his name?
No. His name, in fact, was General
Or General, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Thunderbolt James Ross, because
Yeah.
That's right.
he was so obsessed with revenge
He just
of the
hated-
Hulk
He just hated the Hulk.
that he became the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literally, he was so enraged by the Hulk, the rage overtook him and turned him into a version of the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like it is like literally the essential. You have become what you swore to destroy.
Now, in the
Yes.
comics for Planet Hulk and for World War Hulk, what happened was, so Hulk took over Sakaar and he was ruling it. He was his king. But the problem was the Avengers, in order to get him as far as they could, it was like a nuclear reactor, it's basically in the ship. Well, that went off. He thought the Avengers had planted a bomb in it to kill him. So he came back to Earth because it killed his wife and child. Because he was going to have
Hulk real pissed now.
Yeah. So he came back to Earth and he didn't kill the Avengers. Basically, he started capturing them. And the idea was that he fought all of the Illuminati because that was who sent him into space in the comics. All except for Professor X. What was the comic storyline where Scarlet Witch said no more mutants and killed half of mutant kind?
I think it was No More Mutants, right?
No.
House of M. House of M.
Oh,
That was
that's
it.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
so House of M had literally just happened at the time, so all but Professor X was affected. I think Namor was just there as well. No, he left the Illuminati. That was it.
You guys leave Namor alone. I love him.
So he starts fighting all of the Avengers, and the only one who nearly succeeded in getting him to calm down was Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But unfortunately, he reminded him of his wife and child, and he went back to Hulk. So he captured all of the Avengers and brought them into an arena, and he was basically going to make the Illuminati just fight to the death because they were the ones who killed his wife and child, and also they were the ones who were causing most of the destruction and not the Hulk. So it was kind of making a point. There was kind of an inexplicably funny moment in the comic. I don't think they meant it for it to be this funny, but so they had people come up on stage and say oh, Tony Stark bought this factory and then I'm out of a job and I got laid off, now I can't feed my family. And then, someone else would come up and say oh, Mr. Richards, his experiments ruined my life because now I can't do this and I can't walk and stuff like that. Well, the only dirt they could get on Doctor Strange.
Best thing in the world right here.
So this hippie-looking chick comes up to the stand and she says into the mic, Doctor Strange is bad because he's a Satanist because he uses magic. Yeah, Strange is just, everyone is kind of just like, well, yeah, that's the point. He's a magic user.
The Hulk audibly...
Yeah, the Hulk just sighs and they just kind of rush her off stage.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's oh, they destroyed my house when they flew through it, and Doctor Strange he uses magic. He's like Harry Potter. It's yeah, that's the point.
That's kind of his thing.
That's never mind.
It was. I don't think they meant for that to be funny, but to me, it's just funny.
The only other Hulk-related thing I want to bring up at all is the Hulk versus series.
Oh, God, I love those.
So do I. What was your favorite, Rita Miss?
I just liked how much of a dick Deadpool was to Wolverine.
And the Hulk versus Wolverine one, yeah. Mine was Hulk versus Thor.
Okay, yep.
Because
that one was brutal.
It's brutal, but it also... In this one, they separate Banner and the Hulk. Loki does. So Bruce Banner and the Hulk are no longer one now. They are two living entities.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And in doing so, Loki spews this amazing line of Banner comes to Loki and says, "Put him back. I want the Hulk back." And Loki says, "But I have separated you from what you hated the most. I have given you peace. Why do you?" And without missing it, I'm getting goosebumps. Without missing a beat, Banner stands up and says, "Sometimes we must face the rage inside to live in a life of peace." And then they merge back together, and him and Thor proceed to beat the shit out of Loki.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of funny that you bring up the whole, like, you have to kind of fight the thing in order to get peace.
Yeah.
Can anybody here at this table, speaking of just Marvel in general, can anybody guess who my favorite all-time villain is?
Dr. Doom.
Damn, you're close. He's my second.
Um,
Very, very good guess, though.
is he in the league? Is he in the group of villains that got together, the Sinister Eight?
No, not the Sinister Six.
Oh,
I love those too, though. But
Magneto.
third. Very
Oh.
close. See, you know me. You know me.
Magneto.
That's on there too.
Oh well.
No, Ultron.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you know what?
Yes.
Guy took one look at the internet and was like, nah,
He said,
not worth it.
"Nope, I'm coming right the fuck out of that."
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of those bad guys. And here's why: he's number one, and Doom is exactly right after him.
Doom is misunderstood.
They're both misunderstood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ultron, literally, because of the connection with the Mind Stone, was able to see Thanos
Mm-hmm.
coming along. Obviously, with his whole, like, oh, okay, well, we need to pretty much commit genocide because the world is a piece of shit because of the internet. I want to point that out. The internet has destroyed everything.
Well, it's getting there.
Like,
It's
not-
getting there. Because if you actually pay attention to the Easter eggs in the movie, he's actually going through the different pieces of history where we
Yeah.
have called out peace is basically a lie. You know, in order to have peace, we have to have war, and like all these other quotes.
can't have light without dark.
Right, and that kind of stuff. But there was one specific quote in the actual movie, and I absolutely love James Spade. So
Same here.
Excuse me while I try to generate my best James Spade
Let's hear it.
impression.
I cannot
Let's
wait
hear
for
it.
this.
I'm sorry, I know you mean well. You just didn't think it through. You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. How is humanity saved if it's not allowed to evolve?
He's talking to Iron Man, if I'm not mistaken.
He's talking to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally
that's
was
right.
like his birth. He just jumped into an old suit.
That's
Yeah.
right at
and
the
was
very
staring
beginning.
staring him down. And I love that quote because it's true. If you actually look at that movie, Ultron realistically is not the bad guy. The whole point of the movie is to call out all the flaws of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Tony,
Which they do magnificently.
yeah, Tony is a narcissist. He's fearful of everything, which is also kind of funny because he gets a lot of his bits translated to Ultron because he's a form of Iron Man.
I'm sorry, but Ultron is pretty much the darker half of Tony.
Yeah. And that's what was so interesting in the movie because the Scarlet Witch pulled that out. And again, that was part of the point that, you know, Ultron was
made.
trying to point out is he was programmed to be a peacekeeper. Well, the only way to be a peacekeeper is get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
So,
If there's no world to have war on, my job's done.
yeah. And I also love the whole, like, how he jumps into the theology and all that kind of stuff of how we look up to a God in order to have faith and to, like, bring ourselves to peace and all this other stuff. And he's like, I like that. And he wants to be that higher being, which is why he wants to become Vision.
Yeah.
You know, he's tired of having the metal frame because he looks like Iron Man. He looks like Tony and all that. And that's a flaw of his, which is cool. But I always thought, like, Doom and Ultron were always my two top 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also why during that movie, every time somebody compares him to Tony, he's like,
Oh, he freaks the fuck out.
well, look what he did to Claw. He literally cut his
he
arm
cut
off.
his arm off. Yeah.
Which is real because, you know, in the shows, in the comic books, Claw has the sonic emitter in his arm.
One of the things I love about Doctor Doom as well, if you guys ever have the chance to read it, read Savage Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is so good. And just for like, I want to say like 3 or 4 issues, it was like Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom being like frenemies, because that's what they are
Yep.
in the comics. Because Doctor Strange is like, so, you know how Doctor Doom gets a little bit like weird when it comes to Reed Richards because he's like, oh, I have a crush on Sue Storm and you took my woman and
And it's never going to happen.
and it's never going to happen other than like one time, but even then it was like through mind trickery. But anyway, yeah, he and Doctor Strange are like, I don't want to say tight, but they have this mutual respect for one another where it's like, okay, I won't mess with you if you don't mess with me. I know what you're doing. I'm not going to say I'm supporting you, but if you need help, I'm here. And actually in Savage Avengers, Doctor Doom actually ended up giving Doctor Strange an Iron Man suit. So
Yeah. Well, and then again, if you go far back when Doom was put in front of the Space Wolf and Space Wolf basically checked every possibility of what he was talking about, he's like, holy shit, you are right. The world is fucked. He's like, duh.
I've been trying to tell you that.
Are you
Y'all
shit?
suck.
Speaking of philosophy, we're going to talk about episode 4 of What If and the
No.
No, he hasn't watched it yet. We can't dive into that.
Aw.
Although you guys should watch What If. It's, on my personal opinion, and I think most of us that have seen it can agree on this, it's a slow burner, but it has progressively been getting better and better per
Yes.
episode. Episode 4 is still the best.
It was like that in the comic books too. I mean,
Was it?
for that series? Yeah.
But with with What If, the first episode really good, really solid. Second one, I know a lot of people love it and like swear by it.
Hated it.
I thought it was okay. Readimus, I know, didn't really like it that much. 3 is not bad, and then episode 4 happens,
Yeah.
and
It's
oh my
very
god,
sad.
it is so sad, and it is so good, and it is so creative. I was just sitting there speechless.
Yeah.
So I want to jump off this topic before somebody lets something slip.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know how excited we get. I want to bring it back around to what we were talking about, like the philosophy of stuff and Marvel and the movies. You know, one of my favorite movies was Civil War. It was Captain America, but it was Civil War amongst the Avengers.
So the good news is, though, since you're talking about the movie, personally, I feel like you got the better end of it because
Yes.
the comic book was actually really boring.
It was.
The comic book is not great.
It was very long.
Yeah, very long, like just drawn out. You probably could have ended that at least a few volumes down.
That, and there's also like plot holes, like why can Hank Pym and Iron Man not figure out how to shrink Giant Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, then of course you have the what if that everybody wants is Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass,
Yeah.
ending that whole entire issue real quick.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Proctology exam
Yeah.
gone wrong.
Or gone right, depending on what your perspective of that is. So I really like Civil War, both the movie and also the video game, better known as Ultimate Alliance.
Oh God, yeah, those were fun.
So in Ultimate Alliance, you're giving a choice between Tony Stark and Captain America. Iron Man is for registration.
Yep.
Superhuman registration. Captain America believes that's an invasion of privacy and
It's against his honor.
it's against his honor. One answer, Tony, I want Iron Man or Cap from all of you. Readimus, will start with you. Who would you have sided with?
I'm gonna go with the oh shit answer, Iron Man.
Okay. Lovecraft, Iron Man, or Captain America?
Believe it or not, none of the above.
Oh, so you're Doctor Strange then?
Yes.
I was-
Okay.
Thank you, because that's what I was getting at.
Yes.
We've
Yeah,
been talking
okay.
a lot about Doctor Strange.
Because in Civil War, Doctor Strange basically told Tony, he was like, okay, so where do I fall in? He's like, well, I'm a superhero, but I got all my powers are learned, and also I use magic. How the fuck are you gonna regulate magic? Even I can't do that. And Tony was just kind of going,
Tony and legit was like, I'm done.
Yeah, he was. So Doctor Strange was like, look, you can have your fight. I ain't going to get involved in this. I'm going to take whoever doesn't want to side with either of you and fuck off.
He became Switzerland.
Literally.
And if I'm not mistaken, his Sanctum Sanctorum became Switzerland in
Yes.
New York.
And then,
pretty much.
And then when after Civil War happened, when Tony actually went to him and said, like, did I do the right thing? Doctor Strange just said no.
So the reason I bring this up is because I want to ask a question to our viewers out there. Get on Instagram or our Facebook page. Leave a comment. Let us know who you would have sided with. Maybe a little thing of why. Me personally, I would have went with Captain America and Iron Man both, actually. I believe that superheroes should be regulated. They should be watched and closely attended to. But at the exact same time, I also feel like they shouldn't have their privacy invaded just because they're special abilities. I believe they should be held responsible for the things they do. For instance, if the Hulk smashes an entire house to kill somebody that really wasn't necessary, call his ass out on it.
Yeah, and we'll dive more into that as we go along.
Yep.
So just to kind of bring us around to, like I said, we are going to talk about superheroes, but I'm going to do a little Jedi mind trick on everybody real quick. Because it started with...
Jedi mind tricks don't work here. Only money.
Only money. No, but we've jumped Marvel, Dark Horse, Marvel a few times.
Yeah.
Yep. What am I talking about?
Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Star Wars has had a massive history with Marvel,
Very
even from
big.
the beginning.
1977, man.
Yeah. Do you remember seeing those comics for the first time?
Oh, yes.
I wish I could have experienced that because
Oh.
I love the colors of those old comics. You ever notice the difference in the digital paints and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff versus now the page feels and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff? There's a specific difference.
Yeah, because the comic page back then was rougher. It was coarser. You saw the color bleeds.
It was not acid free.
No, it wasn't. And the funny part was every time I would see the Star Wars comics on a comic stand rotating round and round, it would be either Justice League, Avengers, or Star Wars. And every time I would get a Star Wars comic book, it would be like watching another episode from the movie.
Yeah.
Every time.
Now, how much did you pay for those comics back then? Was it 25 cents? Is that what it was
It was
originally?
30 and then the 35 cents.
okay.
And then later on, it became $1 for the big, larger sizes. Because,
Okay, yep. The more not omnibuses, but the volume trade backs.
Yeah, they were huge.
Yeah.
They were huge.
Yeah, and now we have another facsimile of those, like the actual recreation of those.
Yes.
God, I want one so bad. There's also another Jack Kirby special collector's book. It's like $200. I have it at work.
Oh,
I really, really want it because it literally captivates the best of Jack Kirby.
yes.
It's not just Thor. It's not just Captain America. It's everything that he's touched. Lone Ranger, everything.
And interestingly enough, Jack Kirby was fascinated with Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism.
That's right, yeah.
And he did art based from that.
Really?
Yeah. He even did an entire illustration of God creating the heavens and the earth.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Being Jewish himself, he said to himself, I wonder what would have been look like. So he did.
Yeah.
And that became the basis for his two big creations, the New Gods from DC Comics and the Eternals later on in Marvel.
Yeah, which now we're seeing a return. I feel like it's one of those things that nobody really asked for, but we're getting the Eternals now, and there's so many memes that are out for that, and just do something.
Yeah, for real.
Well, okay, and so we're going to get into an area that I hold very dear in the Marvel Universe, and that's the Eternals. The Eternals, there's a reason they stayed out of everything like they have, and of course the movie will go into that. I'm going to leave that to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out, I was reading the list of cast members. We all know Angelina Jolie is going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody here seen The Big Bang Theory? Everybody here knows Raj, right?
Yep.
Kunal. Yes. Kunal Noir is going to be playing one of the Eternals.
Oh.
I think I did hear that, yeah.
It is officially confirmed. He is playing one of the Eternals. And the reason I'm so excited is because I don't see him as anything else but Rajesh Kutherpally.
Right, yeah. So eventually, I wonder if they'll make a reference to him just literally being quiet around women.
I want them to be in a big council meeting or something. And he's just sitting there quiet. And he's like, oh, what? Now you're afraid because women are around? And then
That would be so funny.
I want it to be unplanned too. I just want a true reaction from Kunal on that one.
I
That would
feel
be
like
funny.
there's actually a bigger typecasting that we kind of are ignoring there. Does anyone else see that for Eternals, Kit Harington, Jon Snow got typecast as the Black Knight?
Oh, I forgot about that.
So
Yeah.
he actually requested that.
Really?
He
Yeah.
actually
I'm
requested it. He
shocked.
actually he requested that from Marvel because he has been a Black Knight fan for years.
I know Richard Madden, aka Rob Stark, is also in that movie as well. I'm not sure as who
Yes.
though.
I think he's, ironically enough, I think he is tied in somehow with the Black Knight. I think he's
so
like his
too. It's-
squire
it's
or
really-
something.
No, I think he's one of the Eternals. But yeah, it's weird. Again, typecasting. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Well, then you've got the actor that played Poe Dameron. He's going to be Moon Knight.
Isaac
So-
Oscar.
Yeah, that's
Oscar
it.
Isaac.
Oscar
Oscar
Isaac.
Isaac.
Thank you.
Yep. That's going to be pretty funny, I think. I think he's got the
Oh, he's got it.
He's got the
definitely.
personality.
He's
got
got
the
the
personality.
sass.
Yeah.
He's got
Well,
the sass.
I mean, come on. How many actors get slapped by Carrie Fisher in a movie for literally having more sass than she does?
yeah,
Not that many.
not too many. But okay, so my final thing I want to kind of bring up is we're going to go back to the 90s, obviously. We talked about X-Men, some of the best animated stuff in the
Jim-
90s.
Jim-
Yeah.
Jim Lee was just brilliant on X-Men, while Scorsese was phenomenal in Uncanny X-Men, the separation of the blue and gold teams.
Yeah, and those were so awesome. And then obviously also with the animated series that, kept me captivated with at least superheroes was Spider-Man.
Which one?
The one in the 90s.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
The Amazing Spider-Man, yeah. And then Spider-Man Unlimited afterwards.
Yes.
Now, obviously, the reason I bring those up mainly is because of, sadly, we're never going to get any more Stan Lee cameos.
No.
No, we're not.
Which really sucks. I just thought about this the other day, actually. He has been gone for 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about like I've literally erased that from. I believe
Yeah,
he's
I
still.
know.
I believe he is legit somewhere, actually hiding and bringing out these ideas.
Oh, I'm
Well-
sure he's over the clouds literally saying, "Don't make me come down there, you punks."
Yeah.
Well, in Guardians 2, it was actually revealed that Stan Lee did actually have a character in the Marvel Universe. He's a Watcher.
Oh, yeah, he is
Yeah,
a watcher.
he's one of the Watchers.
Yep. So that's kind of interesting. Hey, he could be doing that now. Maybe we're all living in different variants.
I was actually about to say Stan Lee went from being a Watcher in the show to now a eternal Watcher in real life.
Yep, pretty much. So, but thankfully, because of that, we can thank him. We can thank Jack Kirby. We can
Yes.
thank literally all the legends that have brought
Amen.
everything awesome to Marvel. And that's basically sparked every little bit of happiness that we have enjoying everything that Marvel's been able to touch.
Yes.
Now, obviously, we're hoping that Disney does it justice, and I feel like they've done a pretty good job
Oh, yeah, they
for the
have.
movies.
In the
and stuff
words
so
of my
far.
grandpa, like the man that jumped off the 100-story building, when he hit the 50-meter, well, so far so good.
There was, if you can find it as well, of behind the scenes of the first Iron Man movie where it's Stan Lee and a very young Robert Downey Jr., where he goes up to him, claps the man on the shoulders, and he says, "This man right here was born to play Tony Stark."
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like,
pretty
it's
exciting.
so sweet.
Yeah.
It is so sweet.
So, yeah. Well, speaking of sweet, we've got something really awesome coming up for our season finale. We are taking a field trip. So,
Yay.
every single season, we're going to do, basically on the last season, we're going to be doing a field trip. Now, this will involve pretty much everything that we can think of in the Nerdum Valley. And this one is going to be basically for Doc and Lovecraft, because Star Queen and I have already been here a few times.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to be diving into, because we didn't even get a chance to talk about it, we're going to be talking about some awesome toys.
Yes. You've seen The Office, so that's kind of a preview a little bit.
Yeah.
Love The Office.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of awesome stuff coming up for you guys, and I can't wait to wrap up the season with you guys. Thank you so much for joining across the world as we continue to make this season epic, as we keep going, and audio is getting better. We're getting better logos. We're getting everything just better and better and better, and it's all thanks to all of you guys listening into us. So I kind of want to wrap it up with our usual check on some of our messages. I did put out a message asking what was some of your favorite Marvel stories, and it didn't have to be just superheroes, but I did get a few. I had a Alicia Hendricks that came up, and she said that she loves Nora Rad's Silver Surfer.
Yes.
That's a great one.
That's a fun one. A lot of people, I think, forget, you know. And then we had a Donald Oda. He came on here and he said he remembers when Ben Reilly got killed off in the Spider-Man Clone Saga
Oh,
series.
Yes,
Shoot.
I remember that too.
Oh, wow. The Clone Saga is... Do you know they're redoing that now with Miles Morales?
Yes, they are.
I
And
don't know why they're doing that, but they are.
I don't either, but I'm intrigued. He actually showed me a picture of the scene, and I was like, wow, that's intense. So, and then actually we had another local, Jake Hawkins, come on here, and he said obviously he loves Deadpool.
Hawkins.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining
Thank you,
in.
Jake.
Yeah. And for those that are still interested in, you can go on our Facebook page and you can message us. Our Gmail is 8bitsdicerolls@gmail.com. Our usual Instagram awesomeness, you can PM us at 8bits_dicerolls. And you can check us out on our Facebook page, 8bits and Dice Rolls Podcast. That's 8-bits, by the way, just to let you know. But with that, I'm going to say thank you so much this week. You guys have been awesome. And I hope that whatever you see in superheroes, that it carries you on and keeps you going. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to put that coin in the slot, hit the power button, roll for initiative, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world right outside our window. That world may change and evolve, but the one thing that will never change is the way we tell our stories of heroism. Those stories have room for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or color of their skin. The only things we don't have room for are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportionate strength of a spider. We're all part of one big family, the human family, and we all come together in the body of Marvel. And you're part of that family. You're part of the Marvel universe that moves ever upward and onward to greater glory. In other words, Excelsior!